moving on with my series in evil tech. We've got the evilest of tech, 976 Evil from 1988, directed by Freddy Krueger himself, Robert Englund. I can tell you I was 12 or 13 at that time. Everybody was very excited about this movie coming out, and it didn't come to the theater here, but we ran to the video store to rent it, and it was bullshit. And it was not the way it was marketed. But like I said in the title of this, there's a surprising reason why I have this movie on speed dial still, or again, I've reconsidered it. And it's because I have become obsessed with not nostalgia for old technology, because I'll tell you why I hate payphones later. And this is about a 976 number and payphones coming to life and killing people, at least in the beginning of the movie, kind of before it all falls apart. I've gotten obsessed with old news reports that are telling about new tech. If you're not old enough to remember 976 numbers, that was where you called Miss Cleo and got your fortune told, or you could actually, I think, talk to Freddy Krueger or listen to a recording of Freddy Krueger on one of them. There was tons of sex lines, and there was like talk to New Kids on the Block, just anything you could think of, because we didn't have the internet yet. They had these party lines. People would call and talk to each other, and whatever it was like $5 a minute after being $1 for the first minute. And people got in so much trouble. Your parents would get the phone bill, or your boss. That's why I'm interested in this movie, because there's payphones in it and 976 numbers. But I should tell you more about the movie. It was marketed as a movie about the guy, his name was Stephen Jeffries. He played the next door neighbor in Fright Night and got turned into a vampire and was annoying. And he always came off as like this mixture of like Barney Fife and Peter Lorre in his characters. So he was the face of this movie. And supposedly, it was because he was getting bullied, and then he raised the devil and went after the bullies. But that's only like the last 30 or 40 minutes of the movie. The beginning of the movie is about his cousin, Spike, who's a badass. He's got a Harley from the 40s and a hot girlfriend. But his aunt, who is Stephen Jeffries' mother, played by Academy and Tony winning actress Sandy Dennis. She's a religious fanatic of the kind that you would only find from a movie in the late 80s. She just sits around on her ass watching like televangelists and preaching at everybody. But really, she has stolen this guy Spike's house and money that he inherited from her sister who died. So, Spike starts calling this 976 number that's supposed to give you your horror scope. But it convinces him to take some money from his aunt, but it's really his money. And it tries to convince him to steal some parts for his motorcycle, but he is too good a guy and he doesn't do it. But there's other people that we see. This guy gets like electrocuted by a payphone. And then this one lady, and the payphone would ring, which was unusual. You couldn't always count on payphones to ring. You could call out on them. And this one lady, the payphone blew up a big picture window in a store, and all of the glass hit her and killed her. But it didn't end up being about payphones killing people, this 976 Evil. It mostly ended with Stephen Jeffries raising the devil and doing regular killing. The bullies that were after him were really interesting. They were skater dudes that had this protection racket going on at the high school, taking kids' lunch money, but they also had some kind of crazy illegal poker game in this movie theater that ran 24 hours a day playing horror movies. And this movie is just so flawed but interesting, which is mostly the kind of movies that I even want to watch. I don't want to watch a perfect movie. I want to watch something that's flawed. This movie had almost nothing in this town. The town was called Garden City, which is a reference to probably the Garden of Evil. Everything had to do with devils. Spike's girlfriend had a box of Devil Twins, which was an old kind of Debbie cakes. They had this diner called Dante's where you could have a deviled egg sandwich. And there was a waitress there named Angel, but she was a bitch. And the movie theater was called the El Diablo. Just so many little Easter eggs, but very typical for the time. The movie had lots of jokes that weren't funny, and then the horror wasn't very scary. I have to go back to say that Sandy Dennis was a well-regarded actress. You can tell that she's above this material, even when she's hamming it up. I think she probably was doing like a parody of Piper Laurie in Carrie. Her character has a whole bunch of cats, and there's a payoff for that at the end of the movie that I'm not going to say, but in real life, Sandy Dennis rescued like all the cats that were living in the Grand Central Station terminal in New York and kept taking cats to her house in Connecticut. And I guess she would adopt them out. And so I think that was a beautiful thing that she was an animal rights activist. And it got worked into her terrible part in this terrible movie. But I do like this movie. I like it better now than when it came out. I particularly like the fashion in it. One of the bullies has that hair that only the jerks at school had, where they literally bleached just their bangs. And there's people wearing like Doc Martens. The main character, Spike's girlfriend, has got on a cropped jean jacket and like a skirt you would wear to go to Catholic school. And there's a lady wearing the one that gets killed by the window. She's wearing tight rolled khakis with red spiked heels. And then when she dies, she's by a store that sold novelty house phones. And this phone that looks like a red pump shoe comes out and lands beside her body. And there's a girl wearing a bandeau bra that's got skulls on it. So much interesting stuff of the time. Not all of it terrible. When people think of the 80s, I don't think they necessarily think of bleached bangs and, outfits pieced together from thrift stores, but that's what it actually looked like. So that was kind of the gist of this. It's terribly edited, and it doesn't make any sense even without the bad editing. They put out another version of it in Germany that I managed to download, and with the scenes put back in, it makes possibly even less sense. And for some reason, I have 2 DVDs of this movie, and it's kind of rare, but I don't think it's collectible. I just think you don't see it very often in the wild. You definitely don't see it on streaming. You have to buy or rent it. So, I don't know if somebody would want to get into this as an old movie if you are not a person who lived through the 80s. Robert Englund did fine. I thought there were a lot of good, well-composed shots. I'm not throwing any shade at him, but overall, it is a terrible movie that I like very much, and I like the sequel even better, and I'll tell you about that, but not next time. Next time, I'm going to tell you about the Japanese movie Cairo, or the translation is Pulse, and this one also got mismarketed as Ghosts Are Coming Out of the Internet, but it really was about something else, and I will tell you about that next week on Tuesday. And until then, have a good weekend, and Always be nice to the nerds at school because you never know when they will get possessed by the devil. Good night.